It may be hard to believe, but some 80% of the world's population lives in a country where the government severely restricts religious freedom. Here in Pennsylvania, tens of thousands of our neighbors came here for that very reason. Some recently from countries like Nepal, Bhutan, and Sudan, because in the land of their birth, the right to obey their conscience is prohibited by law and often brutally enforced. Tonight, Christians from China and Nigeria to Syria and the Gaza Strip and so many other places around the globe are facing incredible persecution and hardship. One of the men who's made certain America's spotlight still shines brightly on this reality is tonight's guest, Ambassador Sam Brownback. Stay with us. We've had Ambassador Sam Brownback on the program before. He's one of the most honest and open people about the way God directed his life. From the highs of serving in the United States Senate and the governorship of his home state of Kansas to falling short in the race for the presidency. Through it all, Sam Brownback says, having faith like a fifth grader, not trusting his own goals and ambitions, but trusting God completely with everything is the only way to live. Tonight, though, I want to talk to him about his work on behalf of persecuted Christians and other religious minorities around the world. Ambassador, welcome back to State of Independence. Brother, it is so good to have you.
It's great to join you, although when you show that montage of my old pictures, I've noticed my hair is grayer. I don't know what's going on. Maybe your camera angle's got something.
It's our cameras. It's our cameras. Thanks so much for making time for us, brother. Let me ask you this. Do you sense an uptick in the persecution of Christians around the world, or are we just more aware of them because of social media?
There's an uptick. And I tell you what's happened, because I've worked in this space now for a number of years, and we're doing 4 times as much as we've ever done before against religious persecution. But the persecution has gone up tenfold. And what's happened is you've seen these authoritarian regimes figure it out that people of faith are the ones that would actually stand up to them. And so they go after them. And this, instead of being a haphazard or something that's culturally driven, now it's really these authoritarian governments that figured out you got to get the people of faith under your boot to control your nation, because they will stand up to you. And so it's just a much more organized thing. And all of that's led by China and the authoritarian regime, the communist regime that's officially atheistic and will not tolerate any space for an authority higher than the government.
When you served in that position, were you received warmly? I mean, or did people just give you lip service? Or when you went overseas and talked to folks, how were you received, and what was their willingness to listen? I mean, I'm guessing they paid you lip service. They were, they were cordial and the like, but I'm guessing they probably didn't want to hear really what you had to say.
It varied. When you're in some place, like you go to China, it's hostile. You go to India, they try to kind of keep you outside of the really to the discussion. You go to some other places where they're interested in seeing religious freedom taking place and moving forward. They welcome you and they try to say, okay, what is it we can do to open up? So it was a bit of a mixed bag. Anymore, it's not a mixed bag at all. I mean, countries either they're for religious freedom or they're against it. And it's usually the government's either doing it or complicit or turns a blind eye. It's a much more calculated situation in the world today.
Yeah, you were the former ambassador for religious freedom. So what kind of a track record do we have as a country in terms of trying to bring about religious freedom in the world? And where are we now with that in this very, very different environment, world environment that we may have had even a decade ago?
We've had a great record of it, but we've been slow to the dance. This nation, and you know it better than any living in Philadelphia, was founded on religious freedom. the Quakers come to Pennsylvania, and they want to establish really a colony that's going to mirror how they viewed the world spiritually. And then you had Anglicans down in Virginia and Catholics in Maryland and Baptists in Rhode Island. And they figured out that they couldn't have a nation without religious freedom for everybody because we couldn't force it on each other or we'll have the wars of religion like we had in Europe. So they put in religious freedom in our Constitution, First Amendment, free exercise clause. There will be no laws against your practice of faith. And that really opened the world up, started to religious freedom. Then we passed the, centuries later, Religious Freedom Act, and that started us focusing on it internationally. And now it's really started to escalate up. Joe, at this point in time, though, it's become a national security issue for us globally. We've got to push this because we've got to stand with the people of faith who are fighting for freedom around the world. These are our brothers and sisters. These are our allies.
Absolutely. I've talked to some of them as well. I've talked to Christian pastors in Ukraine who've had their homes blown to bits. And I've talked to the pastor of Gaza Baptist Church, who's here in the United States right now. He's not in Gaza. He can't be in Gaza, but and they're only that's like one of 3 churches left there. What about in a situation like that, where there are only like 3 churches left? Is that too small for the U.S. to even take an interest in?
No, it's not too small because it's a principle. This is a principle that you are entitled by UN Charter of Human Rights, but also God. This is a right to us to have freedom of our soul. And so there's no place too small to fight for this. And we've got to fight for it everywhere to keep pushing that this is a basic human right. This is the human right of the soul, as I say. This is our right as an individual to pursue and find the divine as we see fit. And it's a fundamental right. It's also a fundamental right of democracy and a building block of an open society. You get this one right, you can get a bunch of the other ones right. You get this one wrong, you're really sliding down the wrong hill.
Yeah, you've written a book, I think, that I don't know if it's come out yet, but I can't wait to read it when I get to it. Has it come out yet? Has your book already?
No, it comes out next year, and it's China's War on Faith. And it was a speech. It was built off of a speech I gave in Hong Kong. I said, China's at war with faith. It's a war they will not win. But what you see of these authoritarian regimes, they look at religious freedom as an existential threat to their control. We look at religious freedom as a fundamental human right, and it's this complete different view of the world. And we really need to put it in that sharp of a contrast to the rest of the world to have them decide, which kind of world do you want? You want a world with religious freedom? You want a world where all religions are controlled by the government? You're headed to that type of dichotomy.
Yeah, I was just talking to Anita Chang, who heads up China Aid, and she was saying that despite the persecution, where these pastors are being jailed without bail and for long periods of time, that the faith, that Christian faith is growing, and that like more Chinese are coming to Christ than ever before. And whereas 20 years ago, there may have been like 1 million Chinese believers in Jesus, now it's numbered already at 100 million. So that number's grown 100-fold, despite the terrible persecution that people in China face. She was saying that you can't even worship if you're under 18, that you can't even go to one of these underground or home churches if you're under 18. So there's an intense effort by the government to make sure that young people don't read the Bible, that young people aren't able to take part in these church services, obviously because they want to guard against the spread of it, the spread of the Christian faith. But have you heard that same thing?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Anita's absolutely accurate. But I don't get it why the dictators don't understand this. The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. It's always been a church that has expanded under persecution. And so you're seeing this rapid growth. The two fastest growth countries in the world for Christianity are China and Iran. Now go figure that. These two places, but it's where there's heavy persecution, but there's also committed people of faith in those nations, and they are spiritual people. Those are spiritual nations where the people themselves are looking for God. They're seeking. And when they do, they find Jesus. And when they get persecuted, he's there with them and carrying them through it. It's an intense time in the world. And you put on top of all of that, the surveillance state that now China has perfected and distributes freely to other authoritarian regimes around the world. It's very hard to hide now. And so if you go with your faith, you're likely to face the persecution of the state.
Yeah. I hear Nigeria is another place that has been persecuting Christian people, that people have been killed for their faith in Nigeria. This is not known, of course, to Americans. I'm somebody who keeps up on world events. I've been blessed to be able to travel in my life to the different continents. I've been to the continent of Africa, which is a great continent. And I've been to other places as well, Europe and Middle East and Japan and so on and so forth. But I wasn't aware of the degree of persecution that's going on in Nigeria, that I've been made aware of. People losing their lives. I knew that they had a large Muslim population, but I didn't realize that there was persecution going on of people who are Christians, who are believers in Jesus. What do you know about that? What's the state of that?
Yeah, it's one of the most deadly places in the world to be a Christian is Nigeria. It's also one of the strongest Christian churches in the world. Some of the Nigerian churches have 100,000 seating capacity in the church for one service. They are massive, really a faith that's on fire. And then that's where you get the persecution, is where that faith is on fire. It's the Apostle Paul going out and preaching the gospel. And, they just didn't sit down in these places where Paul went. They usually arrested him, beat him, tried to stone him to death. He had all sorts of difficulties, and that's what happens, unfortunately. But it's also one of the realities of what you're seeing in Nigeria today. We really need to stand up for a civil society in Nigeria and push the government there to protect all of its citizens, whether they're Christian or they're Muslim. And a number of the Muslims that aren't radicalized, they get killed too, because the radical jihadists will come after them as well as the Christians. So this is a key country. It's the most populous nation in Africa. It's the center of what the real militant Islamists want to make of the next caliphate in the world. They want it centered there in that West Africa, Sahel region, and then spread carnage and really a jihadist movement throughout the continent of Africa, and they're well on their way. We've really got to get engaged to push back against this.
Your understanding of the issue and your perspective really lends itself to your years in the Congress and the U.S. Senate, and then being governor of your home state of Kansas, and then even being a candidate for the presidency of the United States, which you were. It's amazing how God is using you. You grew up, as I understand, on a pig farm in Kansas. Yeah. And,
I did.
And what are the odds of a kid growing up on a pig farm in a small town with a couple hundred people, getting elected to Congress and then the U.S. Senate and then becoming governor of the state and then being a candidate for the presidency of the United States? I mean, what are the odds of that?
Well, as they say in the West, slim to none, and Slim just left town. And, so yeah, it's pretty slim odds, but that's God for you. He's into long odds cases. Yeah. And an incredibly blessed man to be able to do these things, and then to be able to work so much on religious freedom issues for people around the world that are they're so heavily persecuted. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a very blessed man.
Well, it's amazing how God has a path for us all that's usually unknown to us. And you were a candidate for the presidency of the United States. You ended up becoming this ambassador for religious freedom around the world, which is just a wonderful and important post, and so ably filled by you, because you're a believer in Jesus, and yet and still you understand everything that has to do with government and how governments are run, the intricacies of how governments are run, and also politics. And you understand that not only in a U.S. context, but you understand it in the framework of the global economy and global politics. That's just so important for you for this time and place. To be able to talk to us about where we are in the world, about the threats that we face that we wouldn't know about, because a lot of Americans, most of us are in a kind of a cocoon. We're possessed by the things that happen in our local neighborhoods and the things that immediately affect us. We get upset if our taxes go up, of course, and we're worried about security and those kind of things. But we don't oftentimes think in global terms about what's outside of us, about what's happening on a worldwide context. And you understand that, and you understand the challenge that we face with other nations. It's not just a matter of, can we coexist with freely and equally coexist with nations that are so vehemently against Christianity or against even religious freedom?
Well, the short answer is no, but it's not because of us. We stand for freedom, and we want people to come freely along. It's the authoritarians that look at us and see us as a challenge to them. Remember, their problem is their governance. If you're an authoritarian, you are constantly looking over your shoulder and putting systems in place to protect your authority. The biggest thing that's on your plate every day is to make sure you stay in power. And there's no release valve. The release valve is you losing your head. And so they just fight everything, and they put billions of dollars into making sure they maintain control. And that's why I say they look at us and we're a threat by our very existence and by our support. And what I look at and I say, we should be backing these religious people around the world, because they are the front line standard bearers. They are the front line fighters for freedom, every country that they're in. And it's all people of all faiths, because they challenge the authoritarians' rule. And they're usually the first ones attacked, and they're usually the last ones left standing in any country they exist in. These are our best allies in this world today, and we need to stand with them.
Well, this is a very special conversation tonight with the former ambassador at large for international religious freedom, Sam Brownback. When we come back, I'll ask him where he sees opportunity for America to do more.
You're watching Joe Watkins' State of Independence on Lighthouse TV. Positively different. Share your comments about today's program in the comment box at joewatkins.org.
My guest tonight from Topeka, Kansas is Ambassador Sam Brownback. Sam, you've been at this for a very long time. You know what the limits and potential for American power to be used in some of these situations are. But take the case of the Chinese house pastors. That must be way down the list of issues at a Trump Z summit. I mean, how and when should the power of the president be used to pressure a government on a religious detainee?
Well, it shouldn't be down our list. And my guess is, honestly, with the Trump administration, it's not down our list. The president cares about it. The Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, cares about it. It's a committed man of faith. The Secretary of War cares about it, Peter Hegseth. It's not down our list. I think the question is kind of what tactic do you use here? And remember, too, the Chinese they know where these Christian pastors are. They'll go out and just catch a few of them as trading material with us and use them as hostages, their own people. They'll use as hostages and do this sort of catch and release program. They'll catch a bunch of them, and then in some negotiation, we'll be pressuring them. We'll let these pastors go, let Pastor Wang Yi of the Early Rain Church go, and eventually, oh, okay, if you'll do this as well. And so they just throw them in as trading material, and that's how callous they look at their own people. But what we should be doing is we should be standing for religious freedom as a fundamental right of every Chinese citizen. And pressing for that, and then holding these cases up, similar to what Ronald Reagan did when he was confronting the Soviet Union in the Cold War and holding up the Jewish refuseniks as an example of the bankruptcy of the Soviet system. They won't even let their own Jewish people go to Israel. They won't even let them do that. And the system is morally bankrupt. The Chinese Communist Party system is more morally bankrupt. They've killed more of their own people than any other regime in the history of mankind. And we need to confront them with their moral reality of their bankruptcy.
So what do we do? I mean, I'm a Christian guy. I happen to be in Pennsylvania. There are Christian people in all the states, in cities and towns all across the U.S. of A. What can we do? What can we do to show our support, to show our love for our brothers and sisters in other parts of the world who are just suffering unbelievable persecution? What can we do? I mean, we know we can pray, but is there anything else we can do?
Well, you certainly start with that, with prayer. If a person is a Catholic, they need to be contacting the Catholic Church and saying, get out of this arrangement that you have with China, to where China basically has to approve your bishops. The bishops in China are being kind of controlled by the Chinese government. They need to contact their people and their state representatives, their federal representatives, their congressmen and senators, saying, this issue is important to me. It's important to my heart. It's important that we stand with our brothers and sisters in Christ around the world. And we also, I think we just need to finally figure out that while we may not think we're in a Cold War with China, they believe they're in one with us. Xi Jinping is hurting his economy so he can build his military up. They are setting up for a big battle with us. And the sooner we realize that, the more effective we can be at fighting back. It's really time to take the gloves off.
Yeah, you made a very important point in that last remark, which was that, they're, as you see it, I mean, they're building up for a big battle against us. I mean, literally a big battle against us, I'm guessing you're saying.
They are. They've got a newer, bigger Navy than we have. A Blue Sea Navy. They're building ports around the world. They're building their nuclear arms up to be at the same size and scale of ours and Russia's. How do you read that? And at the same time, they've tanked their own economy to do this. They had a fabulous growing economy, and they have broken it off from the world, and they're changing their industrial base from really a commercial one to a military one. How should that be read? And then just 2 months ago, Xi Jinping hosted a group of dictators. It was a Davos of dictators in Beijing, 16 dictators with Putin on his right and Kim Jong-un from North Korea on his left. Does that not speak to you about the alliance that's building up against that? Do you not see the same sort of dictatorial alliance that started building up prior to World War II? In Europe and with the Japanese emperor? I mean, this is not anything to imagine anymore. We've got visual pictures and data on it.
Wow. Well, my very special guest tonight has been Ambassador Sam Brownback. If you want to share this conversation, it's posted right now at joewatkins.org. I'll be right back with our great producer, Jeff Coleman.
Learn more about Joe Watkins and the mission of this program at joewatkins.net. And tell Joe what you thought about today's program in the comment box.
And now let's talk to our great producer, Jeff Coleman.
Well, once again, I think what Ambassador Brownback is saying, which we hear from all of our guests who speak to the issue of the persecuted church around the world, is that wherever the hot fire of persecution is turned up, the church is actually growing. So you have, he talks about these massive church services in Nigeria with 100,000 people. At the same time, when this Nigerian genocide is claiming the lives of thousands of Christians every year, up to 7,000 this year alone. So you look at that and say, well, you don't want people to experience, Christians, to here or around the world, persecution. You also know that God is repurposing that, and the church is multiplying faster than it's ever perhaps grown before, specifically because of persecution. But these are all our family members. This is not the American church versus the Nigerian church versus the little church, as you mentioned, in Palestine with 500 Christians huddled in a sea of opposition. And it's the Chinese church. These house churches are a network which now extends around the world. So God's doing something. It's great to be able to put the spotlight on it.
Yeah. Well, so important. I just hope Christians are encouraged to pray, and in the case of maybe a thing like China Aid, send money, but to do whatever they can to support our brothers and sisters who are being persecuted. I mean, this is almost like Bible times. I mean, when Paul was walking the planet and...
Well, it didn't stop, though. I think what people assume is that the persecution of the New Testament church somehow ended as America enshrined these liberties into our Constitution. That somehow we've outgrown this idea that Christianity opposes proud governments, opposes the dictators of the world, because it liberates and frees people.
Right. Yeah. What a good word, brother. What a good word. Well, when you start walking with Jesus, learning his voice, understanding what it means to trust him, you soon realize you're not alone. He's adopted you into a global family, his family. And when one member of that family suffers in China or Syria or Nigeria, it's as if we all suffer. Tonight, lift up those suffering for Jesus in faraway places and use your resources to support people and organizations speaking up for them. May God give us all the courage to do more, like Ambassador Sam Brownback. If you have a minute, send me a note in the comment box at joewatkins.org. I enjoy reading how a guest helped and encouraged you. For Jeff Coleman and the entire team behind the cameras here at Lighthouse TV, thanks so much for watching. From America's first capital, Philadelphia, I'm Joe Watkins. I look forward to seeing you right back here next week.